In this video, I'm going to show you how to use Statpro to do the moving average method. And this is Statpro for Excel 2010, 2016, and 64-bit Excel. I'm going to use problem 35 from chapter 13 of the Winston Albright decision analysis text. Here's the problem. We've got closing prices for American Express for a 1-year period. Part A, we're going to use a span of 3 to forecast the next day's trading price using the moving average. Okay, so the first thing we're going to notice when we look at the data itself, so I've just pulled up this data set, subtle, I don't know if you notice, the data is ordered from the most recent to the oldest date here, so we're going to need to change that around. If we're doing forecasting methods, we want the data to be from oldest to newest. So we're going to order this by date, starting with the oldest data value. Okay, so now I've just sorted it in ascending order. And add-ins, Statpro, I'm ready to do my forecasting. So to do the moving average method, Statpro forecasting here. And later on we'll be asked which method, and we'll select the moving average. Okay, click OK. We want to forecast the closing prices. Another thing to be aware of is what type of data you have. In this case, we have daily data. Now, this is something I'll go back and show you in a minute here. We actually start in week 42 with day number 3 of the year. It actually started in October. The days of the week, depending how many days are recorded here, subtle here, but if you take a look, each week there are 5 days of the week recorded, 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and then there's a pause over the weekend. And then we start up again on the 27th, so 5 days a week. Starts at week 42, I'll show you that after. And we start on day 3 again, I'll show you that after. We want to forecast 1 day ahead, click OK. Moving average, span of 3 is what we want, click OK. Click OK, and there we go. And what's generated are forecasts, the errors, which is just your actual minus your forecast. A graph here, just if you just click OK, this is the default graph generated with the forecasts and the observations. Notice they're almost right on top of each other. And there are 3 error measures outputted here. Mean absolute error, root mean squared error, and the mean absolute percentage error. You'll notice this guy is very low, 0.88%. The formulas for those can be found in the book. Just taking a look here, they are found on page 721 of the Albright book. Here they are. Here's our formulas. Mean absolute error, absolute value averaged out. Root mean squared error is the average squared error, square rooted. And the mean absolute percentage error is the absolute value of the percentage errors averaged out. Okay, so this is what Statpro outputs, so it gives us an idea of how large the errors are. Next part of this problem asks you to use a span of 10. Okay. And just before moving on to that, it asks how well does this method with a span of 3 forecast the known observations? So a little comment here, this percentage is very small. So note the span of 3 moving average is very effective at forecasting the known observations, as the mean absolute percent error is only 0.88%. That is very low. Perfect. Okay, now moving on to a span of 10, we're going to go back to our original data. I'm just going to rename this tab before I do that. Okay, so that was the moving average with span 3. If you want to get even fancier, this was the forecast using a moving average with a span of 3. Going back, part B asks us to use a span of 10. Only a slight change we have to do there is going back into Statpro, forecasting. Go highlight your data yet again. There we go. Click OK. Closing prices is what we want to forecast. And we have daily data, 5 days a week, starting in week 42, day number 3. Again, I'll talk about that at the end. And I want to forecast 1 period ahead. And I want to use moving average with a span of 10. Click OK, and there we go. Just renaming the sheet now. Bear with me. Okay. And 1.5% is our MAPE, a little bit worse than before. So a little note here. Span of 10 is not as effective as a span of 3 moving average method, as the MAPE has increased from 0.88 to 1.5%. It is still very low. That's a really good error, but it's a pinch higher than the moving average span of 3. Part C asks for our conclusion. So which of the two is more appropriate? How can you tell? Well, you can look at any of these 3 error measures and compare them in the 2 methods. Whichever method has the lowest error measures is the better of the 2. So we'll notice here that moving average of span of 3 is better. So it is the best of the 2 methods. Okay, this would be the one we choose. Now, going back here to figuring out our week numbers. So if you look at the top of your data set, just as we finish off here, in the top of your data set, we have October 15th of 2003 as our first data value, closing price. How did I figure out what week number that was and what day number of the week? You just do in Excel equals week num. And go click on that data value, and that is week number 42. So that is how I knew I was starting in week 42. Now, the day 3, if you take a look here, this data is recorded for 5 days of the week. So we're guessing starting on Monday, ending on Friday. We're partway through this week then, the 15th, 16th, 17th. We're in day number 3 of the week here. And then here we start back on Monday again. So this one is a Wednesday. That's equal to day number 3 of the week. So that's how I knew the day number. You don't have to put those in Statpro, but you'll notice if you do, it shows you a little bit more then. So it shows you what day of the week you're in, if you want to do it that way. If you don't want to bother with that, another trick you can do is just go copy all those dates and then paste them in your Excel output that Statpro generates. Just paste over top of the dates that were there, and then you'll have much prettier looking output. And you can see where this forecast is for.